everybody, and welcome to round 5 of the FIA World Endurance Championship for 2016. We're 7,500 feet above sea level in Mexico City, and pretty much right in Mexico City as well. A bustling, sprawling metropolis which has its fair share of history and of atmosphere, and traffic jams too. Just outside the main business area in the Magdalena Sports Park is where we are nestled for the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. The Rodriguez brothers' names are remembered with this track, which was built in 1962 in this beautiful, it's a bit like Monza really, public park that has become the centre of all Mexican sport. It's the 5th round of the championship this year. We've done away with Europe and we're heading off on our travels. There's a big crowd here and more coming in. The band, the brass band, is of a reasonable size and has been belting it out for the last 20 minutes or so, much to the great delight of the motorsport enthusiasts who are here. So after Nürburgring back in July, seems a very, very long time ago, doesn't it? Well, we're here in Mexico then, popping up to Austin in September, back in the middle of this month rather, than a month away from that, Fuji, then Shanghai and Bahrain to finish off the season. Brand new circuit, which means that the team's got a little bit of extra practice early on in the week with a collective test for an extra 90 minutes. It's 17 corners, 2.6 miles, just over 4.3 kilometers. The long main straight, of course, makes up the first sector, which is all about aero. Second is all about downforce, and third sector, the twisty bit, is all about mechanical grip. Let's head down to Louise Beckett here on the grid.
Well, joining me on the grid is the man instrumental in this event happening, Ricardo Gonzalez. How are you feeling about this weekend? Look at those grandstands.
Very happy after 3 months to see this result. Very happy, and being in the pole couldn't be better.
Now, as the local man, have you got any idea what's happening with this weather? There's black skies ahead above us at the moment.
Well, yeah, it seems like it's going to rain later around 5. Hopefully it rains in another area of the city. The city is very big. We saw something similar yesterday, and it was raining around the track, but not in the track, so hopefully we get lucky.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, traffic and the altitude were causing issues in qualifying yesterday, so let's take a look at the highlights.
A step into the unknown for all of the FIA World Endurance Championship teams as the free practice finished, and then the sun went behind the clouds and the track temperature dropped markedly. It's really very critical here as to the performance of the cars, just how quickly the temperature of the track surface does change. In the GT categories, it was the Aston Martin, Paul Dall'Anna and Pedro Lani who put in the fastest time, but in post-race tech they were found to have transgressed height infraction. But in the, let's put the Porsche by the way on Paul. In Pro, it was an Aston Martin green out on the front row, 95 from 97. P2s may well have the toughest time here this weekend. They're limited on tyres, which the GTE cars aren't, and their normally aspirated engines are making something like 100 horsepower, maybe more, less than they are used to. Braking issues as well for some of the cars as well in this lighter, less dense air. Stracker in third, been fast all week. Signatech Alpine looked good, but the Mexican flag was flying high for the RGR team, Ricardo Gonzalez and Bruno Senna on qualifying duties. And so to the LMP1s and the hybrids. All of the factory teams with new body kits to try and compensate for the issues of altitude. It looked like the number 2 car had a chance at one stage, but it had to settle for second place with Audi number 8 in pole. Its teammate in third position, excuse me.
Congratulations to the whole Audi team. It's a very important second phase of the championship, and we prove that we are there to fight.
So Graham Goodwin, first of all, brand new event. So far, so good. It was a work day yesterday and we had a reasonable crowd. There were people queuing this morning at before 8 o'clock when we were coming in to the circuit, and it looks like a football crowd out the back of us at the moment, and the baseball stadium, whilst not full, is filling up.
It's filling up. There's a lot of entertainment here for the crowds. It's a growing crowd. Certainly we expected a big crowd here this weekend. We'll see how it all pans out and where we will see them. I suspect you might see some of these crowds moving around during the race as well, John. The grandstands opposite the pit lane packed. The grandstands in front of the hospitality box is beginning to fill up now, as obviously lunchtime here. And the baseball stadium, you can see the back of that from where we are at the moment. And
Adrian Fernandez there, just in front of Emmanuel Perrault, Gerard Devaux in the body warmer there. Had a long chat with Adrian Fernandez earlier on this morning. Very happy about this. Here is the AM grid.
He's third in AM, and with the demotion of the 98 Aston Martin at the back of the grid for a ride height infringement. So Porsche 1, 2, 3 in AM. The 78 KCMG Porsche, third quickest. Fantastic band, by the way, on the grid. The 86 Gulf Racing UK car, Mike Wainwright, Adam Carroll, Ben Barker, second on the GTM grid. Ricard Leitz. The Mark Webber, of course. There, that's what this is all about. That's Ralph Hüttner from Audi Team Joest. Bit of a hug for Mark Webber, the biggest competitor out there with his Audi team. This, though, is the new pole position car, John, in GTM.
Yeah, feel a bit sorry for the Paul Dalla car, but transgressed the rules in post-race tech and post-qualifying tech, and so the Porsche's been pretty competitive actually through the week here. Promoted to pole position does gives them the opportunity to mess about a little bit with their strategy coming from the back of the grid. It may be that they even talk about changing tyres here. David Ennemar Hansen, close to, what am I talking about? Nicky Team closest to the camera there.
He's got much more hair than David Ennemar Hansen.
He has had a haircut though.
He has, yes.
Autograph session this morning was absolutely packed, and of course the local team getting in on it. Brendan Hartley.
Rocking that look.
Mark Webber loving this track, as do all of the drivers. And the drivers out on the open top buses around the infield area through the baseball stadium earlier on. This is where the Mexican national baseball team play, and again this parkland area is the centre for Mexican sports excellence, and includes a tribute to every single Mexican Olympic medal winner just actually behind us here.
Absolutely right.
It's quite impressive.
This is a spectacular facility, and no less so than with the riders here, thrilling the crowds in the baseball stadium.
Frankly, it was the only way we could get in this morning.
It was, absolutely. That moped's never going to be the same again, John.
Ford have quietly gone about their business today. A lot of people in the press room trying to put their finger on why Ford aren't higher up. I don't think it's one thing, and that's, I think, the mistake that those people are making. This is a car for whom, quite simply, the circuit here isn't suited. They have pretty much admitted that themselves, and they are going, I think they're going to try some tricky tactics, Ford. The turbocharged cars as well, with not the advantage that might have been expected here in the higher altitude, around about 25-26% less dense air than you would have at sea level. And to compensate for that, the normally aspirated cars were given a larger restrictor, so that is part of the reason why the turbocharged cars aren't running away with it. But I think Ford are quietly confident. Feel for Stefan Mucker, who's had to get himself to the German embassy after his passport and some of his other personal items went missing. He now has to get his mind back on the race. Aston Martin, though, they've trimmed their cars out. They're using the extra power or the extra air and their better aero and the bigger restrictor to the absolute nth degree. It's been an awesome few sessions for these guys. And in fact, at one stage, the 97 car, I think, was 6th or 7th quickest of all at the speed trap.
Absolutely
down
right.
towards turn 1.
But 95 car it is, Danish Dynamite in the rear. It's always the Dane train to us.
Yes.
Baseball Stadium is filling up nicely, thank you very much. Teams are now getting themselves together for the formalities on the grid, becoming a favourite part of the fan experience of the FIA WEC. It's the manufacturers' standings in the GT Pro. Ferrari to the lead. Will they keep it after this weekend? By no means assured.
So the teams lining up on the grid in preparation for the Mexican national anthem, which I think is going to be one of the highlights here. There's a big crowd around us. There's a huge crowd in the baseball stadium, which is actually a pretty good place to watch as well. It's just concrete bleachers there, but you actually see the cars working in the slow speed corners that perhaps sometimes are neglected, but they are. It is the mechanical grip part of the circuit. It's very interesting to see the varying performance levels of the cars, not just within class either.
Absolutely, and what we saw from free practice and certainly in qualify yesterday, John, is that plenty of mistakes being made there. I think they're going to see some action, not just cars coming through at medium speed. They're going to be seeing some action there. There is an opportunity, albeit a risky one, for an overtake into the stadium section, but we saw several runners, including Mark Webber, of course, getting it wrong there. I think Andy Prio as well had a bit of a clang, did he not, in the Ford? Drivers have been loving this, and a few more so. And Bruno Senna, by far the fastest man in LMP2 yesterday, to put the RGR Sport car, local heroes, with Ricardo Gonzalez, of course, the race organiser here, on pole position in LMP2.
I have to say, though, Graham, Ricardo did his bit and more.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I think I'm right in saying he was the fastest silver driver. He was certainly ahead of people like Lewis Williamson,
Roman
Rusinov. Yeah, he was. If he wasn't the top silver driver, he could only have been second.
He fended off what was looking to be very close attention indeed from Nico Lapierre, but a bit of a whoops at the end of the session, and René Rast, and that means, of course, for the first time this season, the 26 G-Drive car is not on pole position in LMP2.
Yes.
This could be a real mix-up race, and with some of those points caps drawn out, as they often do after Le Mans 24 hours, this could be the race that brings things back together nicely for the remainder of the flyaway parts of the season.
Quick word, by the way, for Fiona Miller, who isn't here this weekend, much missed by everyone in this paddock. Fee, get well soon. I hear we've got better news coming on your situation, which is fabulous. And Andy, Sam, we're thinking about you as well.
Absolutely. Loads of love to you, Fee, from everybody here. The WC family came together early in the week to say hi. We said again from here, thinking of you, my love.
Now, this is an actress, a singer, pretty much does everything. Very big name here, and her latest album is massive, being advertised in the streets at the moment, and Belinda will be performing the Mexican national anthem.
Very well received indeed by the local crowd. We saw from some of those pictures a real family affair. What looked to me like a very young baby indeed being brought to their first race. Let's hope this is one that mum and dad remind them of for years to come. Grid being cleared, everybody getting ready. Tony Calderon there, team manager of RGR Sports, with Felipe Albuquerque. Tyres on the cars, teams leaving the grid, and it's not going to be long, John, before we get this race underway with a 5-minute board due in just under 3 minutes' time.
Nothing the teams can do now. The preparations are done. Fiercely patriotic crowd here, fantastic. Huge amount of marshals here as well, by the way. We always mention them, but yeah, have turned out in their droves. I've never seen so many officials in the pits before, and they are not leaving anything to chance at all. Flags in the grandstands, a new touch. I don't think I've seen that anywhere else this season, Graham.
No, I think we've seen it in China before.
Yeah.
What I think last year, but this is something rather new. Someone's going to be taking home a very nice souvenir or three, aren't they? But hugely enthusiastic crowd. And the crowds, of course, making their way to the stands from the fan areas around the circuit. The big one, of course, by the main entrance. And with what I have to say, John, is the most impressive display of street food and snack trucks I've ever seen anywhere on the planet.
You could make a documentary about it, actually. There's a whole TV series that you could make there on street food without having to move more than about 50 paces.
That sounds like a bid.
G-Drive there in the unfamiliar position of being down the grid in 4th position. LMP2 with no turbo engines in this category are going to struggle today. The Aston Martin, the Works Aston Martins in the Pro class, were dragging past some of the LMP2 cars at the end of the long straight down towards the first corner, the Mulsa Solana S's.
And word up for the fastest of the lot there, because it wasn't a GT car, it was the Rebellion. 327 kilometres an hour.
It's over 200 miles an hour.
204 miles an hour or so in a straight line, that car. Fabulous stuff.
The brothers Rodriguez with the director of AT&T, who are the sponsors of this race, on the left, and Pierre Fillon on the right. That is a quality touch.
Fair brings tears to your eyes, doesn't it? Team spirit amongst the marshals as well. We could not go racing without these, ladies and gentlemen. 3rd in LMP2, Stracker Racing after a great qualifying session.
They could be the spoiler in the championship battle this week, this race, Graham. They're not really in the championship hunt. They've been getting better and better. Johnny Kane was inches away from a podium last time out at the Nürburgring, and that car, in its swan song season, of course, looks very good indeed. And Lewis Williams has stepped up. Here's the one that you absolutely can't ignore.
Yep, that's the 36 Cygnus Alpine team, but there's headlines here. Mexico City have all been about the performance of this car, the 43 car. RGR Sport by around the Ligier Nissan. Bruno Senna will start the race, by far the quickest man in qualifying.
By more than a second.
It was 0.8 of a second over the likes of Nicolas Lapierre and René Rast. Here, the CLM, only 2 LMP2, LMP1 privateer cars, of course, here this weekend.
Had a chat with Pierre Caffa in the luncheon area. We had time to have an early lunch there. Some frustration in that garage because the car is continually being developed. Engine problems have been stymieing them, and they're running this weekend. Here is the fastest car in a straight line this week.
It'll be Alexander Imperatori to start the 13-car Rebellion to a 1-car team for the remainder of this season as they prepare for another deep breath and go again in LMP1 privateer. Then we get to the heavy metal. Number 6 car, Toyota Gazoo Racing, has had, well, somewhat up and down weekend, John.
Yes, but at least it's still got 3 drivers, which 2 of its competitors don't, including the 5 car, Anthony Davidson, suffering from what we told was a 30G impact in testing, and decided it wasn't worth trying to rush his return to the cockpit. Testing not here, by the way. The 6 car Graham was referring to, Sarrazin, had a big shunt at the end of the collective test, and that is in fact a new chassis for the 6 car.
4th on the grid, the defending world champions have not really had the run of it this year so far, aside from the last time out. 25 of their 28.5 points so far scored there. Brendan Hartley will start from 4th position on the grid. Audi and Porsche alongside each other on both the first 2 rows of the grid, John.
No sign of Ben Treluer here. He is at the track. He was, and you'll see his name on the side of the car. He was slated to race again, coming back after that cycling accident that kept him out of the Nürburgring. Decision was taken that it would be better for him not to race. Audi's saying very particularly, Graham, that 2 drivers is not an issue here in terms of stamina.
Absolutely right. Mark Lieb will start the number 2 car. These are the championship leading crew at the moment. Tried very hard indeed to grab that pole position. Threw tyres at the car. 3 sets in qualifying for Porsches to the 2 of their competitors, but could not wrest pole. The first pole position for Lucas de Grassi, the number 8 car, on a chase now to try to close the points gap to Porsche. And with the green flag in his hand, Grand Marshal, who better, John Hindhaugh, than Adrian Fernandez.
Yeah, still a massive support of the sport down here in both sports cars and in Formula 1. 32 years behind the wheel, said to me he doesn't fancy coming back, but he does like the idea of having this sports car race here. And the point should be made, Graham, that the kind of corporate backing that this race has got in its first year is quite astonishing, and that's allowed the promoters to buy advertising on the big sports networks, both in English and the Mexican version of Spanish down here. We have not been able to watch any of the sport channels for very long indeed, very long at all, before we've seen the TV advert for this event.
On the evening we arrived, John, the first 3 occasions I saw a TV set, within 5 minutes there was an ad for this race.
Yeah, across various channels. Very good indeed.
30 seconds on the grid, 30 seconds on the grid for the first of 2 formation laps.
No, 2 formation laps again. Pretty short circuit here, just 2.6 miles, just over 4.5 kilometres. This is going to go by very quickly indeed. And the track is rubbering in all the way through, as are the curbs. Not all the curbs can be used here, and there have been some very big
green flag for the start of the formation lap. Green flag for the start of the formation lap of the 6 hours of Mexico. We have started the first of 2 formation laps for the 6 hours of Mexico.
Well, between Eduardo Freitas and the crowd and the sound of the engines pulling off the grid, you don't need me to say anything other than settle in, get yourself set with food and beverages for the next 6 hours, because you are not going to want to move. Round 5 of the FIA World Endurance Championship from the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. 62 years since this track was laid down in this part, 1962. So 54 years since this track was laid down. And sports cars are back at Mexico City. Just a few moments ago, Luis was down on the grid for drivers' last thoughts. We'll start with Gustavo Menezes.
Gustavo, you've got the RGR locals in front of you. What can you do on this race?
I think we just have to do the best job possible, you know, maximize the car and the strategy. The team's done a great job all season, and I think if we put our heads down and do the best work we can, then we'll come out with the best result possible.
The squeal of tyres. This is a relatively new track surface put down just a couple of years ago. Mark Lieb takes the first stint in Porsche number 2. Here's what he had to say to Louise before he pulled off the grid.
Mark, it was a difficult qualifying, so what can you do in the race now?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight first 2 or 3 corners. I mean, I'm right in between the Audis, so it's going to be really tight and close. I mean, we saw qualifying was very close as well, so I think the race will be the same.
Taking the shorter line through 13, turn 13 in the baseball stadium during the formation lap. The Audi R8 leading round the Audi R18. So Luca Di Grassi will bring the field to the green flag. Here's what he had to say to Louise on the grid.
Lucas, first pole, the circuit is obviously suiting the Audis. What's possible today?
It's going to be a very interesting race, very tight with the Porsches, and also the weather can change. So we have to extract the maximum out of this beautiful Audi and see how it goes.
8 sets of tyres allowed for this race because it's a new track. Porsche threw 3 sets out at their cars in qualifying. Audi and Toyota 2. In terms of laps, we're expecting 38 laps from Audi, 1 more from Toyota and Porsche. I think possibly 2 from Toyota, actually. But that means that if we go full green, in which case the race will be around about 240 laps.
Correct. Though
if we go
around here full green throughout.
And I'll come to that in a moment. But if we do go full green for 240 laps, which will be about 6 hours, and remember it is 6 hours time certain, that everyone will need to take a splash. It will just depend how much they have to splash and how many laps they have to go for as to how long they're standing still in the pits. About 25 seconds, the time lost to coming down pit lane, and it's the front row of Audi on pole position from Porsche. The second row, Audi on the inside, Porsche on the outside. Toyota Gazoo Racing have row 3 to themselves. Then the privateers, the Rebellion and Bicolis Racing team battle continues here at round 5. Pole position for the local team, and Bruno Senna will start the RGR Sport by Moran car. G-Drive not used to being further back in the pack. Now it'll be interesting to see what they do, as they've never started from anywhere else other than pole in the 26 car this season. Baxi DC Racing Alpine not having a great qualifying. They'll have to come through from the back, as well as the 2 Extreme Speed Motorsports car. Ed Brown refusing to be drawn on next year's plans. Expect an announcement sometime before Petit Le Mans in the IMSA calendar, is what we've been told from the team. Now, don't worry, that's all allowed. They're taking the cutouts to allow them to go side by side and keep the formation out of turn 16 and towards the awesome, the fearful Para Altada. We get to use still half of it. It's a good-looking lineup. 6 hours on the clock. The red lights will go out. Coming to the start line. Breaking of ranks there, and we've gone green, and we're racing in Mexico City. And already the CLM going down the outside and making up positions. And it's the 2 Audis that will head down to the Mazda Solana S's in the lead. Oh, and the lead has gone wide. And that's a loss of position for the pole sitter, and Andrea Lotterer immediately takes over, and it's going to be a loss of more than 1 position as Lotterer is falling back. What a great start for the CLM down the tubes. We know, of course, that those privateer cars, they don't have the extra 500 or 600 horsepower from the hybrid systems, Graham, but they are exceptionally slippery.
And that's exactly what we saw there, John. It was straight line speed paying dividends in the very early running of the 6 hours of Mexico. The CLM still ahead of one of the Toyotas. The Rebellion having fallen back behind both, and just now the number 6 car goes by. There's still the CLM, by the way, ahead of the Rebellion from the start there. Good stuff, though, from the Audis. They managed to retain 1-2. Number 7 car coming up from 3rd on the grid to take the lead. Just a moment where we might have seen number 1 back into 2nd position, but It's Audi 1-2 as we go around there. Meantime, GTE action. They're getting back onto the rear end of this LMP2 pack. It's what we thought we might see in the early running in particular. On board at the moment, the number 51 AF Corsa car, and that's a car that's looking for its luck to change.
Changing arm as Ben Barker has gone ahead of Pat Long. That's something that Ben will want me to say several times, I'm sure. The 86 Gulf Racing UK car leads GTE Arm. The schmozzle that we thought would happen at turns 13 and 14 has happened. We'll catch up on that in a moment as there's a battle for second position as Andrea Lotterer leads. Luca Di Grassi decides to claim back second position from Brendan Hartley. Side-by-side action and a spin, and it's the 66 car again. Oh dear me, what a shame. The 66 Ford seems to have had all of the bad luck for that team this year. Ollie Pla right at the back of the field. The comeback starts now.
Did he jump or was he pushed? It was a very close contention between the Ferraris and the Fords coming through the stadium. Pla has been turned around, or has turned around, somewhere just beyond that, just out of our sight to our right, John. And we'll wait and see whether or not he can rejoin.
Here he comes, past us now. Ollie Pla is rolling again. Car looks relatively undamaged, left side at least. Meantime, in Arm, Ben Barker is ahead of the 51 Pro car of James Collado, and he's hassling the back of Sam Bird, leading the GT Arm. That's the Gulf UK car. Pat Long from Joel Camathias means a 1-2-3 in the Arm category for Porsche, with Emmanuel Collard, the best of the non-rear engined cars. He's in fourth position. In Pro, it's Nicky Team from Stanaway, 95 from 97, with Michael Christensen in the Porsche, 77 ahead of Harry Tinknell.
Toyotas have changed places as well. It is Kobayashi now ahead of Sebastian Buemi, 5th and 6th for these cars, struggling with this new high downforce kit that was unveiled at Nürburgring. They're not very happy with it, I don't think. Watch for some hooky-cooky types of tactics from this team later in the race, John.
Good start by Pipo Derani, by the way, in the ESM Ligier. He's up to 2 positions from where he started, and he's now right on the back of Richard Bradley in the 44 Manor team. Just 1 car for Manor for this race. Expect to hear something from Graham and the team about the rest of the season very shortly, and we expect positive news there, I should say. Senna from Menezes from René Rast in LMP2. That's Ligier, Alpine and Oringer, 43, 36 and 26 if you would like. And Johnny Kane has just lost a position there, and he won't like that at all. But the 2 championship protagonists are now at each other's throat again. Bruno Senna out ahead of Menezes and Rest. He's just disappeared.
Senna's gone 5 seconds up the road while these cars battle behind him. But Gustavo Menezes trying to hold off the, well, primal force that is René Rast aboard an LP2 car.
The 36 car leading the championship at the moment. And oh, there's a change in privateer as well. CLM and Collis have, well, in fact that happened early on, didn't it? Because
did it down the start, finish straight. And
Pierre Capper got a brilliant start. Alex Imperatori is in second position. These cars are super quick as they go through down the straight now. 311 for Capper, 300 for Imperatori, so still getting up to speed with heavy cars.
That's going to be a change, I think, from Rebellion. They've changed something about the downforce on that car, because it's not as quick in a straight line as it was during most of the sessions earlier in the week, John. Not
by
even close.
17 kilometres an hour.
27 kilometres an hour.
27 kilometres an hour, yeah.
But fast and furious stuff. Another car's made a position, by the way, from the start. It's number 77 Porsche up to 3rd in GT Pro.
Was that Ollie Pla going closely there? And by the way, he was pushed. It was the 51 Ferrari that was involved. James Collado, and Race Control telling us that there is an investigation going on at the moment into that collision at the final corner of the stadium complex. Battling LMP2 is for second place. René Rast and Gustavo Menezes. It's not pushing this too far to say this is the battle at the head of the championship, is it really? Because, you know, but for that non-finish at the Nürburgring with the gearbox problems, the orange and black car, the 26, would be right in the championship hunt. As it is, they're still not out of it.
No, they're down to third, but you're absolutely right. But what that battle is assisting is Johnny Kane to get back on to terms with the second and third place cars. Bruno Senna is just on a different planet at the moment, though. Here we are, though. This is one of the this is the battle for position in GTE AM. And this is a little way back. This is the battle 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. The third car in that train, the Aston Martin, forced to start from the back of the grid after a wide height infringement. Oh, and going wide there. A little bit of big of a wiggle coming out of the stadium for Eddie Rast. That's putting back into the clutches of Johnny Kane. Now, which of these cars has got the advantage in a straight line? You would guess, wouldn't you? It's the two Orica chassis ahead. Indeed, to watch from Johnny Kane's position, just see the orange car ahead just drawing away, just ever so slightly. Frustrating with Johnny, of course, but when it gets into the tight and twisty bits.
Very much still, Graham, and he's very much later on the brakes because he's clearly got a little bit more downforce there, so he's able to brake a little bit later. What we're talking about here is the altitude making the difference. And I'm indebted to Larry Holt from the Chip Ganassi Ford team for the numbers. Larry has a tremendous ability to break down very, very complex subjects into things that I can understand, and I'm forever indebted for him. If you're at sea level, so if you're in Europe sitting on the beach watching or listening to us, or indeed anywhere, and you're on the beach, if you had an inch square up to space, there'd be just under 15 pounds if you had that on a scale.
Yes.
14.7 actually, that's what in 1 bar. When you hear people talking about 1 bar, it's 14.7 pounds of weight, if you will. Here, it's about 10.
Correct.
And so that's sort of 3/4, if you will, 0.78.79 of a bar. So that's the difference between 14.7 pounds of downward pressure and the 10 pounds. That's the difference that the altitude makes.
And that gives all sorts of issues for the teams to work through. What's generally speaking is a relatively level playing field for them. As the Audis, by the way, coming through that third place GTM battle now, very close together indeed. Under half a second now, Rotro from Degrassi, dropping Brendan Hartley just a little through that traffic, making a better fist of getting through than the Porsche behind. And that's opened out actually quite a sizable gap as Hartley clears the KCMG Porsche now, with the Audis already into the stadium section, but with still more to do, this time with the top two cars in the class. Ben Parker with Pat Long in pretty close attendance.
Yeah, we're going to get some lappery here as well. Very tight at the head of LMP2. With just on 10 minutes gone, and a challenge for second position in LMP2. As they head through turns 4, 5 and 6, the Lake S's, the leaders are picking their way through the GTE field. They're going to be up with the P2s very quickly. From race control, no further action on the 66 and the 51 incident on lap 1. Second, third and fourth now, Johnny Kane is right there in the Stracker, the black and white machine. Third, the open top car. And the Gustavo Menezes driven Alpine is under pressure now, down the oval, the back straight of the oval here, and into turn 12 into the stadium section. Looks like the 36 has gone through,
That's compromised.
Menezes and Rast.
That's compromised Menezes' line. Back to the red rag to a Johnny Kane bull. Trying to find his way through, take that position. No way through the stadium though for Johnny. And the Orica / Alpine should be the quicker package to the next section of the race, as the leading pair of Audis now 4 seconds to the good, took out almost 3 seconds in traffic over the Porsche, and now dealing with the head of the GTE field, the manner of the pair of Aston Martins, Nicky Team from Richie Stanaway, separated by 3 seconds.
So the two Audis out in front. Two Toyota swapping places as well.
Again.
Buemi ahead of Kobayashi again now. Down at the first corner. Managed to keep it on the track this time. That's where he lost out last time. The Porsches, by the way, Hartley in third and Lieb in fourth, separated by just 0.3 of a second. So they're running in formation, team formation as well. Just a quick good afternoon, or good evening as it will be, to Lena Gate, who was in contact with earlier in the week. Settling into her new role with Bentley, but particularly wanting to say hello to all teammates at Audi Sport Team Yost, as well as our race director's assistant, Lisa Compton. And now that we're with our full syndication worldwide, as well as on the WSA app, I'm going to say this again, get well soon, Fiona Miller, we all miss you.
And is this a change for position LMP1 priority? If it is, it's for 7th position
They
overall.
have to go Buffalo Gals round the outside here.
There.
4, 5 and 6. The Lake S's, the Largo S's. Track limits are an issue here, Graham.
Indeed.
A, because there's not a lot of it in some places, but B, because you can take an advantage in places like turns 9 and 11. And I'll have to point out that our race director has been pretty hot on that. Change for 2nd position a moment or two ago through turn 12 into the stadium section, welcomed in the G Drive garage.
That's a change for the lead. The 8 car is heading. Degrassi to the lead.
That's the pole sitter back at the head of the field then, Graham. First time since they went off the line. Look at the background here, down towards the first corner again. The Monza Solana S's.
As they get stuck in now to the midfield battlers in the LMP2 class. And is it going to change back? I think it is. 7 car goes back through. So they're dicing away. And this should allow, for the moment at least, the Porsches to close back on what had become an almost 6-second gap. The delays in the last lot of traffic. Next target for the pair, Richard Bradley in the solo, this time out, number 44, Mana Orica. There he goes to the right-hand side of the number 8 car of Lucas Degrassi. But plenty more ahead, still to be dealt with. It's the 2 S&P Racing BR01s next in line astern. They will have seen the Audis coming. The Audis have caught them in the right place here, where they've got an advantage to fire through this final turn and down this awesome main straight. Through pretty quickly, it's going to be Brendan Hartley. He has closed that gap by 4 seconds in traffic, now back down to 2 seconds with Lieb a further second back. So the Porsche's beginning to get back onto terms with the Audis in this phase of the race. So Johnny Kane now sees an Audi go by for the first time.
What I would say, Graham, is I think what we're seeing is the ebb and flow through traffic. The Porsches have got another big clump to hit, and it's the LMP2 cars. Now, they won't be as quick, perhaps, and as difficult to pass as even some of the GTE cars, but in terms of their braking performance, they do have a similar braking performance as the LMP1 cars. Just to remind you, if you want to get in touch with Graham or I in the booth, and we can do that through Twitter. Graham is at DSC Editor, and I am at SpecUtainment. And it's a mixture of speculation and entertainment.
Sometimes in that vein, from at 42 Eyes, he must have 42 Eyes, spotted, he thinks. Good evening, Daniel, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are. That spotted a touch between one of the Astons, the number 8 Audi, as they made their way through. Does not appear to have made a major difference to the pace of the cars.
Very early in the morning in Australasia. Hello to the Antipodes, tuned in for live coverage from the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. The Rodriguez brothers honoured with a laurel wreath before the start of proceedings here. A very lovely brass bust there that had the winner's wreath placed on it before the call to start the engines here. I thought that was a really nice touch.
Very much appreciated by the crowd. You can tell from the applause and the cheers that came from that. Massive motorsport enthusiasm here in Mexico. They're loving the arrival, not for the last time, of the FIA WEC. Another major motorsport event.
Matt Pig asking, is there a difference between petrol and diesel affected by the altitude? There is, Matt, actually. A long talk with the Audi guys this morning. There's been a certain amount of balancing between the different LMP1 hybrid cars with the different fuel types. Seem to have been pretty good, actually. And no, well, what I'll say is no one was complaining either way.
No, I think they feel they've got their heads around it, that the calculations they made before they got here are all correct in terms of straight line speed, in terms of the grip levels they expected. Maybe a slight shock there that it's pretty low grip here in certain parts, and the cooling as well for the most part, though we'll wait to see what happens later in the race. Not an issue for the hybrid teams.
Pat Long has caught Ben Barker, and the two Porsches now battling for the lead. Pat Long, Californian, with the black, white and silver Porsche behind the very famous colours of the 86 Gulf Racing UK car. I do like that black rear panel on that 911. I really think it sets those famous colours off, gives it an extra little twist. Ben got the jump, sorry Graham, Ben got the jump on Pat at the start of the race, and it's taken Pat this long to get back. They've got a little bit of clear air now, so they can have their own scrap.
Great to see that very attractive Gulf Porsche at the sharp end of a race this season. It's certainly the characteristics, that altitude, this track played very much into Porsche's hands, as well as to Aston Martin, and they're getting in the mix. It is going to be, I'm sure, John, a very different look to the podiums in a couple of these classes.
A couple of people asking about the Toyota's relative lack of pace and that they seem to have gone backwards since Le Mans. Certainly, I think it's fair to say, Graham, that their super high downforce package isn't working the way they wanted to here, and there was a sort of sense of resignation in terms of the performance levels of the 5 and 6 cars from Toyota Gazoo Racing, and they've not had a great weekend with one car being destroyed and having to be rebuilt onto a new tub, with Anthony Davidson not being able to race.
Indeed, a terrible start to the weekend for them, and we saw a great shot for the in-car of the Audis there. They're fired out of the final turn, and makes it pretty safe getting by a line astern of GT cars. Change again here for the lead. 8 back to the lead now with Lucas Di Grassi.
Just using the draft there and going by, which I don't have an issue with, and I don't think Audi will, because effectively he's getting the tour. There's the battle in LMP2 with the 44 sitting off the circuit for a moment from Richard Bradley. Nelson Panciatici in the blue Alpine, and Victor Scheitar around there as well, was it? No, it wasn't. It was Scheitar ahead of them. There was definitely a touch there between Bradley and the 31 of Pipo Derani, who's lost a position.
And those three looking to get the tow, if they can, down to get back onto terms with the S&P Racing guys. I mean, good run so far, the 27 and the 37, and they run in that order. It's Nick Manassian ahead of Victor Scheitar. Before we get to this trio,
just a point, by the way, that the grandstands at the far end of the circuit are not open to the public. It's the baseball stadium and the front straight area
are open,
that have been opened, and the crowd are moving between them. It would have seemed to us, certainly from the pre-race activities. There was a classic race earlier on which was pretty bonkers, unfortunately came to an early end. Let's have a listen to what Brendan Hartley is being told, or what he's saying to the team. Here's some team radio.
Okay, Joe, on fuel. We're on fuel now, Brendan. We're good.
That was Kyle Wilson-Clark, his engineer, and well, there's an interesting point. Porsche being very careful in the early part of the week, Graham, not to give too much away in their radio transmissions, but it would seem there is that they are driving to a fuel delta at a lap time pace. We know that they are better off in terms of fuel mileage. Oh,
that's the 83 car. That was the 83 car. Championship leaders, that is Manu Collard being tagged. Well, tagged is a polite way of saying it, nerfed by Pedro Lamy, I think that was.
It was indeed the 98 car.
And that 83 car has been struggling all weekend down on power. And look at this now, Brendan Hartley really back onto terms through traffic with Andre Lotterer. It's made heavier weather of the traffic over the last couple of corners, and that's given Hartley the opportunity to get back into the fight.
Coming out through the S's 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 and onto the oval back straight. On the right there you can see where the flat oval joins in. That's where Formula E were racing when they came here on the shorter circuit, very much shorter circuit. Now let's have a look as they come into the baseball stadium. Turn 13 is about where second base would be, maybe a little further out. And they're heading towards home plate there, just on the left-hand side before they go out through 16 and through the Para Altada and back to complete another lap. Oh!
Mark, we need Bravo 7-9er, 2 times. Losing time, Brendan, braking into turn 1. Copy.
Do you know, I nearly said he's not allowed to tell him that there, but of course we're watching sports car racing, and that rule has been changed in Formula One. How interesting then.
Watch this though, John.
Bit of coaching going on from the guys on the Porsche pit wall to Mark Lieb. Buemi catching him up, and he's being told he's losing time to Brendan Hartley in the braking area for the Mulsa Solana S's at turn 1.
Absolutely, and that we can see that very visually now. Sebastian Buemi, nose to the air. He can sniff a little bit of blood, and that blood is Mark Lieb ahead. So the Toyota going to be relishing getting back into this. A race I don't think they expected to be this close at this stage of the race, with no delay out there. We've had no caution periods at all in the first 22 minutes of this race, but a Toyota getting into the mix. S&P Racing Cars here knows that Rainer Stern into that turn 1 braking zone, where we heard just a moment ago Marley being told he was losing that time. They're not losing time. Buemi is matching sector to sector Mark Lieb's times at the moment. Does he have? Is it just a break? Is it the braking issue beginning to emerge there? So Di Grassi from Lotterer. That is 5 seconds now with all that toing and froing in traffic. 5 seconds a gap, and Lotterer though now has a 2.5 second gap from Brendan Hartley.
Tim Mayer, one of the stewards this weekend, as the SMP car swap places a lap or so ago, and now looking at the 44-31 incident on the entrance to the stadium section that we saw a couple of laps ago. It was, to say the least, a bit untidy. Let's see if anything comes of that. As the 5 car, Buemi, now right with Mark Lieb, and this is down to Mark Lieb slowing down. It is as much as it is to the Toyota getting quicker. 27.6 last time around for the Toyota, 28.2 from Lieb, whilst the lead Audis are doing 26.7 and 27.7s. Let's have a listen to see what Buemi is saying. I wonder if he's going to be given a bit of extra boost.
Vector 11.13, Vector 11.13 for high state of charge.
So a bit more charge in that car. Spin for the 44 car at turn 12. Here was the contact. Oh, if there wasn't, it was close. Just tags the wall. Yeah, that might have been a bit of a tip in there as well. Oh, the replay in the replay button in the stewards room is going to be worn out by the end of this, and we're only 25 minutes in, Graham.
Absolutely, it's getting to be a bit fast and furious. Traffic starts to play a part, but in particular, these guys are beginning to see where the opportunities are to get up the order. That was Richard Bradley looking for a way into and amongst the S&P racing cars. It didn't work there. I'm keeping an eye, by the way, on the sector times on Mark Lieb. Wondered whether or not he was losing time other than in traffic. Doesn't appear so.
Mark Lieb now being warned about track limits at the exit of the S's at turn 11, the left-hander that leads on to that back straight of the oval section. LMP2 with Bruno Senna now 9 seconds to the good from René Rast and Menezes. 8 seconds, Rast has pulled out on Menezes. Johnny Kane still right in there in 4th position behind the number 36, the pretty blue. Oh my goodness me, 1, 2, 3, is that 4 classes all in the same place? I think it is. 5 cars, 4 classes in a place that's barely enough room for one.
It's not going to be dull for the next 5.5 hours, is it?
Well, it's such a short lap here, Graham. This is coming into 12 again.
It's just the 3 classes there, John. A slightly disappointing 3-class battle there.
It's not that a Pro and an AM car, there.
It's round the outside there, though. Look at this. This is the number 13 Rebellion, showing its straight line speed, as it's now been lapped by. Is that the Rebellion dropping back into the P2 battle, or is he lapping? No, he's lapping them for the first time as the Audi laps them for the second.
It was 4 classes because it was Pla and Collard that were in there, the 66 and the 83 car, isn't it? So the recovering Ford that was tipped into a spin by the 51 Ferrari earlier on, yeah, it is Collard, so it was. As the leading LMPs went through, we did have, and there again, we have all 4 classes in... Oh, let's stop. just stop now, lads. You've still got
Well,
5.5
we
hours
can
to
work it
go.
all out. Meantime, by the way, while we're watching this epic battle with, you're quite right, it is all 4 classes there, John. Rennie Ras beginning to start to make inroads into what is now an 8-second lead over Bruno Senna.
Okay, Andre, just for information, we are on the same strategy. We are currently on the same strategy, so no reduction.
Okay. So, with the P1 cars in that battle, now there is indeed all 4 cars. There are indeed all 4 cars. Just coming up to half an hour, Luca Di Grassi has completed 18 racing laps here. Andre Lotter will go through in 2nd position ahead of Brendan Hartley, but the gap is 9 seconds to his teammate and only 1.1 second to the Porsche Mark Lieb. The second of the Porsche, number 2 in 4th position, is a second and a half back from his teammate. And then Sebastian Buemi in the first of the Toyotas, 2 seconds further back, and 6.5 seconds further back from that in 6th place is Kamui Kobayashi in the number 6 Toyota. It's Rebellion by 9 seconds now, ahead of the number 4 CLM, 13 from 4 in the privateer battle. Sorry, go ahead, Grim.
This drags to, by the way, down the start-finish straight, John. Another great place to see where these hybrid cars can punch out with 1,000+ horsepower out to that final turn and easily pass just about anything else in a straight line. Formula Awesome has become Formula Blime here.
Javi Benito has asked about, sorry, not talking complete nonsense. Chris Rice has asked what's the top speed of each class here. Something over 300 kilometres an hour, between 305, 310 kilometres an hour for the P1 cars. We did see a 327 for the Rebellion in FP3, I think it was, 2 and 3. It's around about mid-260s to high 260s for the P2 cars, and the same for the GT3 cars.
In fact,
late 50s to late 60s for the GTE cars.
We will inevitably get some side-by-side action between the GTE cars and the LMP2 cars later. That's one to watch.
Pat Long goes for the lead in, doesn't quite make it through the Monza Solana S's. The trap speeds I was talking about there, the top speeds, by the way, just before the braking area to that first corner. Pat Long flashing his lights, that'll give him 2 or 3 more miles an hour. Always does.
Massive response, by the way, to this race on social media. It's better keep up with it.
And rightly so. A new venue comes along fairly infrequently, doesn't it? We had the Nürburgring last year, which was a new venue for the series, but was a known quantity. This is new and an unknown quantity, and so far, the quotient of excitement is excellent. Debris, exit of turn 1. On the left-hand side, that's what the yellow flag graphic in the middle of your screen under the 531 means.
So a quick hello to a couple of young men, Clitheroe, Lancashire, watching this action. Jake and Alex Clegg, not nearly time for bed. Tell your mum and dad you're going to stay up and watch the end of this one, no problem at all. Sorry, Barry.
At Specutainment and at DSC Editor. No sign of any precipitation here yet. Locals completely split on whether we will get a splash, a lot of rain, or nothing at all before the end of this race. And frankly, the weather forecasting and even on the apps, everyone's different app says everything different. Now, here's a battle for position. This is the number 1 going for 2nd position on Andre Lotterer. Side by side at the braking area to right-hand corner that's coming up. Can the Porsche go through? Yes, it can. Can it stay on the track? Just about. And Brendan Hartley is up to 2nd place. So back where we started now. 8 from 7. 8 from 1, from 7 from 2.
And that was a much better run out of the final turn from the Porsche. That gave him the opportunity to get onto the back of the Audi. You could see that closing.
You know what that is, Graham? That's 8 megajoules against 6.
And absolutely right. And just had enough ponies to get through. Debris has gone. We won't get a further caution because of that, John.
Interesting standing at the final corner in one of the free practice sessions that we weren't broadcasting, to see the very different lines being taken, particularly by the Audi and the Porsche. The Porsche gets on the hybrid boost and reuses that energy very much quicker, and there's more of it clearly going through the front wheels. They can't trace quite, or they don't rather trace quite as tight a radius coming out of 16 into the Para Altada at 17 but they do pick up speed mightily quickly, and that was able to be turned into a pass. Interestingly, Andre Lotterer was quicker than Hartley by 10 kilometres an hour through the speed trap, but still lost the position.
Look at this battle, though, in LMP2.
I'd rather not, it's too scary.
That was Pippo Derani going up the inside of Victor Scheitar to take a position. Scheitar now back into the clutches of the cars behind, including the 35 car Nelson Panciatici.
That puts
It was Manassian.
That puts Derani into 7th position. 6th position now.
Position. With a great battle in the middle order in LMP2. They're able to duel away because of these long straights, heavy braking areas as well. And it's it's the fortune of the brave here, isn't it? There is Scheitar just going out a shot. Then we get Derani. Panciatici came through as well, past Manassian, because Nick Manassian's line was compromised. Richard Bradley is on the back end of that too.
TGR fans have said, can you tell them to slow down? I can't keep up with the updates due to the action. I know what you feel. Every time we're looking at the screen, there seems to be something changing. People are hitting better sector times. 71 being called for track limits. That's Sam Bird sitting at the back of the GT Pro field.
Can you see that I have no grip?
Yeah, copy that, confirmed.
I have no grip. Yes, it looks like Andre Lotterer making the point. Now, the start was very interesting with the two Audis, line astern, Graham. I wonder if they'd been talking about that, because they fanned out as soon as the 7 car cleared the Porsche, but then the 8 went a little bit wide, and for a moment it looked like there'd been issue. But the start of the day, Rocket Man, Pierre Caffer.
He must have been cackling as he did it. Got his foot down, found the track was clear ahead of him, and just went for it.
We've been informed by race control, and there was the turnaround of the 51 on the 66, by the way, coming out the stadium on the first lap. The 44 car, the Manor Racing, driven by Richard Bradley, will get a black and white flag for the contact with the ESM number 31 of Pippo Derani. That was a wee while ago. Stewards working their way through a number of contact incidents on this tight circuit. Now, black and white isn't a penalty, but what it is a final warning. It's, if you will, we've seen that, we are watching you even more carefully.
Absolutely right.
78 now getting the track limits call at turn 11. I have a suspicion that our race stewards and directors' patience will run out rather quickly here.
This track will be rubbering in nicely and quickly, I think, with lots of action here. Richard Bradley, well, he's getting that black and white flag, has managed to get his way by Nick Manassian, whose pace seems to have gone south over the last lap or two in the number 27 S&P Racing, BR01. The car there in Russian colours with the Manor car. Red and white car ahead, 44. And just in the background there, we just got a momentary glimpse of the Greaves-Gibson Bruno Changuera aboard that car, not showing the kind of speed we maybe expect from the ELMS winning car. But the drive of the quality of Bruno Changuera quite yet. On board now, though, with the race leader, Lucas de Grassi, 14.5 seconds to the good now, over Brendan Hartley.
Yeah, that's a number we need to remember, Graham. The Porsches are nowhere near as quick in a straight line as the Audis at that timing point just before the Mulsa Solana S's. But the lap times are getting a bit closer. 26.1 though last time around for de Grassi against a 27.8. Traffic playing a part in that though.
We're about to see on screen here, but a bad news for a car that's already had bad news today, because the number 98 car, the initial pole setter in GTM, Aston Martin, sent to the back of the grid, is going to get a drive-through penalty for that collision we saw earlier in the coverage, John, in the stadium section, or just before the stadium section rather, with the 83 AF Corsa Ferrari.
If you're going to tweet us at DSC Editor for Graham or at Specutainment for me, please use the hashtag 6HMexico. Hashtag 6HMexico, and of course it's at FIA WEC as well.
And all sorts of questions coming in.
This again, Joe Bramble saying, surprised the turbo cars aren't further up the field. There was a balance of performance change for the naturally aspirated cars, Joe. Slightly bigger engine restrictor. Oh, problem for the 5. Problem for the leader. He can't get the gear change there. This is the leader in...
That's not the leader. That's the 43 car. That was how quickly a hybrid car goes past an LMP2 on the start-finish straight. That was P1 performance versus P2 ultimate performance on the start-finish straight. It wasn't a great fire in. But that was Bruno Senna going past the Aston Martin.
Seemed to take a long time to get the gear change done, Graham. That was what worried me. Let's go to Louise. There's drama at the front of the field in the top three. Louise, what can you tell us?
Well, we heard Andre on the team radio. They're getting ready for the number 7 to come in. They've got a new set of tyres ready and waiting for him.
Early stop then for the Audi. We expected somewhere near 38 laps.
Well, we're at 24 now, John. That's way short. So something's gone rogue with the set of tyres that Andre Lotter is on. We heard him, the rather rueful radio message. Effectively, you can see, I can't get any grip out of these tyres, can't you? And he's coming in right now.
So no grip was the call. Now, what this might do, though, Graham, is how's that going to work for their splash?
Well, what it does, it basically puts them on now to a 6-stop strategy from here on
now.
Yes, so their last stop, their last regular stop, will be a slightly shorter stop with less fuel.
Well, talking to the driver through the window, a film taken off the windscreen. The reason nothing is happening, by the way, if you're new to this, is you're not allowed to do anything to the car other than the maintenance you saw with the driver door open and the screen whilst fuel is going in. Safety measure. Get ready. Here we go. And everything, the ballet bursts into action. Limited number of men allowed, limited number of air guns allowed.
New set of tyres, not one of the tyre sets that have been used already in qualifying. Ready for that. So great stuff. That, by the way, fires the Toyotas up into 4th and 5th position. Bravey, by the way, was not able to get by Mark Lee, but still pretty much in contention, 2.5 seconds back.
He's dropped back to 2.7 seconds, yeah. At the front of the GT profile, we haven't seen the Aston Martins of Nicky Thiem and Richie Stanaway because they've rather just been doing their job. Michael Christensen in 3rd place is fully 19 seconds further back.
That's the Aston Martins in line astern. The one in the middle, big in the middle there, is the 98 GTM car, which is going to, but it actually has just taken its drive-through penalty. So Pedro Lamy has come down. That's going to cost about 25 seconds on track for a drive-through penalty out on the pit limiter. 23 seconds in the lane equates to about 25 seconds lost on track. With the
bit more for GTEs because they don't accelerate quite as quickly. A 150 lap on the way in for Pedro Lamy. We'll see what he does on the way out. He should be doing something around the 43s, 44s.
That drops him back behind the 83 car, which was the car he was punished for hitting. So that is the punishment fitting the crime.
No, I completely agree with that logic there, Graham. Well done. Bruno Senna, all of a sudden, is only 4 seconds ahead of Rennie Rast.
That, I think, it's certainly not a lack of pace, because he's just set the fastest lap of that car's race. I think he's been struggling in traffic lately.
Rennie Rast has just set the fastest lap of the G-Drive car's pace as well. So that is coming back together. Menez is further, 20 seconds further back, and Johnny Kane still 6 seconds away in 4th position. So in LMP2, 43 from 26. By just under 4 seconds, then 36 and 42.
Well, there goes Johnny Kane, just out of shot there with the 7 and 8. Actually, together again on track, but albeit now, it's about a lap apart. It's cost them. That would be about right, of course, with the tyre stop. So the 8 car, this is the leader. That's the 7 ahead. And this is...
This is
Di Grassi looking to put a lap on his teammate.
This is tough for the team, Graham, because... last time around, Di Grassi and Hartley were both on the 1:27.9s, and the lead has come down to 11.4 seconds. But he does not want to put the 7 car a lap down because of the obvious implications should a safety car be required. Now, full course yellow, not so bad, but safety car, he would get that pace back, and he would effectively...
All that means is that the pressure is now on Andre Lotter to up the pace, and hopefully these tyres allow him to do that. To keep
he has
this
a heavier car, of course, because he's got more fuel, which means he can go far longer into the race. Looked like you went a bit wide into 13 there. The fans have been an integral part already of this inaugural visit of the FIA World Endurance Championship to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. It is particularly Mexican here, and proud of it. Now, we should have had 3 drivers in the number 7 car this weekend, but we are down to 2 again. That's because Ben Trelier has not got his racing suit on, but he is with Luis Beckett.
Well, we did hear Andre talking about grip issues on the team radio, so he's come in and changed those tyres. Has he got an issue with the grip?
So it seems that Andre was struggling with the tyre, so we decided to change earlier than the plan. And we hope it's going to be a little bit better, but he was doing very well at the beginning, and then suddenly he lost confidence in the tire, so we got the opportunity to change it, so it should be all right.
Now, we can see you in your shirt. You're not racing this weekend. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay, actually. I could have taken the risk to race, but it was difficult because I didn't have enough time to recover in a muscle way. So yeah, we prefer to wait and be ready for Austin.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And he will be welcomed back to the fold at Austin as well.
Duvet day for Benoit Trelier, being slightly cruel, but of course delighted to see him back in the track. We'll see him back in the car.
In good form,
of course.
This
he
week.
was, yeah, he is in very good form, but still very close contention here in the mid-order of LMP2. Pippo Derani drifting the car, the 31 car, through that turn.
No, you can't do that in a prototype, but apparently no one's told people that. The people effect. Behind him, Nelson Pansitici in the Maxi DC Alpine started well down the field and has made up positions. In fact, both those cars have, sitting as they are in 6th and 7th in LMP2. The Manor losing a bit of pace now. Well, not actually, they're all doing 37s. Johnny Kane's just done the 42 Strackers, the Gibson, the fastest lap of its race with a 37.1. Problem is, Bruno Senna is regularly doing 36.2s and 36.3s.
Yeah, Derani looking to see whether or not he can do anything in a straight line about the S&P racing car ahead, but that's a quick car in a straight line. But Derani, see what he can do now with the traffic ahead. Can he force an error?
Derani is the meat of the sandwich at the moment because he's got to try and attack the car ahead whilst defending from the car behind, trying to use the slipstream of the Ford there. Oh, and he's managed to get himself caught in behind coming into turn number 4, the Lago, the Lake S's. Quite like this part of the track, not sure about the tight hairpin at turn 6. It has been tilted, this track, of course. It's not in exactly the same configuration as it's raced in the past. Some nice touches, though, particularly still using the last third or so of the Peraltada.
It's fair to say, though, some of the guys who've been here in the past. Way off goes the Ford, and through goes the Toyota. That will have been those cars seeing the Toyota coming, getting involved in their own battle, trying to just leaving it too late to make the room for the Toyota, but no harm to any car involved there. It's the BR01.
That was Harry Tincknell. That was Harry Tincknell in the 67 car in 4th position.
BR01 trying to get by the 77 Porsche, couldn't do it there, and that's put it back into the clutches of Derani as we get the number 6 Toyota onto the back of all 3. And to give you an idea of just how much quicker in a straight line out of that final turn these cars are, in the shot you saw the Toyota beginning to make a move on the 3rd car in that train. By the time he passed us, he was passing the 1st, and I reckon there's about 200 metres between us and where that shot left us. Astonishing speed out of that final turn for the hybrids, and still a battle underway here, and it is a battle between Mark Lieb and Sebastian Buemi. He has not been dropped by this Porsche.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Brendan Hartley, 9.7 seconds back from the leader, meanwhile. So briefly go in car there with Sebastian Buemi. Grandstand seats.
Oh, look at that
view.
That's a great view of that corner of the baseball stadium. We're just about able to see them explode from the Peraltada. Coming through 16 now, 17 is the Peraltada. Just on the left there, the commentary boxes. there's a dash for the line, we will be able to get the photo finish from here, Graham. That's the...
Oh, good grief, yes.
It's not as long a run down to the finish line as it is to the start line. In coming with more Formula One circuits, it's about a 300-400 metre differential between where the start is and where the end is, and the end of the race will be, as I say, about 400 metres closer to the final corner, so you're not going to get that drag race to the line.
Absolutely. Got a big shout out here, and an important one as well, by the way, to Elise Beckett's new shoes from, I think, across in Australia. Osfreak, good evening, good morning or good night, wherever it is.
Very early in the morning. Now this battle with Pipo Derani down the inside. Smart move, Pipo. Lovely stuff there.
That's
Victor Shaitar unable to hold back the Ligier and the BR01, and Pipo Derani now climbs to 5th position in the class, and he has 20 seconds between himself and Johnny Kane, who has 5.5 seconds in the 42 car between himself and 3rd position Menezes. Late dive down the inside, fair driving, very fair driving by Victor Shaitar there. He did not close the door. Racing room required and given. And a little bit further back down the field, Bruno Junqueira in the white number 41 Gibson, with, for this weekend, the Mexican flag colours as part of the livery.
Greaves Motorsport looking to get a deal together to come back to the WEC. We start to see pit crews moving, amongst them the Gulf UK guys ready for the 86 car.
Bit surprised that it's that early, to be honest. I expected to see closer to an hour from the GT cars.
We'll keep an eye on what's going on there, but Greaves Motorsport would be a very welcome addition to the LMP2 full season grid here if they manage to make that programme come together.
The CLM has been into the pits. Pierre Caffer has got out, and Simon Trummer has just gone back out in that car. Number 4 car, 1 minute 19 in the pits, and that is because they took a lot more fuel than when Andre Lotterer was in earlier at a 109 stop. Remember, he came in pretty early. Looking now at the 33rd racing lap for the leader, who is Luca Di Grassi. He's about to come and complete that 33rd lap. I reckon probably 3 or 4 more. I don't think they'll go to 38 on the first stint.
This is James Collado getting onto the rear end of that Harry Tinkler's car, the 67 car, isn't it? This for 4th position in GT Pro. This would be a good battle to keep an eye on, the relative performance levels of the Ford GT ahead and the Ferrari 488 behind. Both turbo cars, of course, now have got the Gulf Porsche pitting as we watch this on-track action. That from the lead of GTM, and a great run from the start.
And that means Pat Long's gone through and taken the lead at the line, Graham, because of where the pit lane entry is. So Pat Long leads for the number 88 Porsche in the AM category. Oh, piece of tape or something out on the circuit. Yes, it is hazard tape, causing a hazard rather than delineating one at the moment.
It's been comprehensively shredded by a couple of impacts with cars. Hopefully that doesn't get sucked into an air intake.
Well, and that is a massive problem here, Graham. It's right in front of us.
It's got, in fact, pieces of it. Oh, dear!
Oh, this is the SMP, the P2 car. Now that's Victor Shaitar, I think. The 37 car, yes it is.
And what's happened there?
He's hit the wall, Graham, or has he had a puncture?
That's before the stadium section.
That was coming. We first picked him up on the run down the oval straight. He rather sensibly shortcuts turn 13. I hope he doesn't get into trouble for that, because that was really sensible racing. I don't think he's going to go any further than that. And if that is the case, can you leave the car there, Graham?
Well,
or can you make that a slow zone and have the marshals pull it back immediately into the pit lane? Alex Imperatori, I think he probably needed to anyway. There's debris on the circuit.
Well, that is a part of a P2 car.
Well, it's part of that P2 car. And you can see that the steering's broken on that car as well, just on the inside.
So car 37 in woe, and we are going to go to a full course yellow, John.
Seconds to go full course yellow.
Well, that is, for those of you who don't follow this all the time,
10, 9,
no deployment of the safety
7,
car. This
6,
is freezing the
5,
cars at 80 kilometers an hour
3,
from
2, 1, full course yellow.
full course yellow now. Now,
yellow.
whether you pit or not depends on where you are on the track. The problem is some people might not have a choice. Look at the pickup on the left front wheel of the Audi, on the inner edge there, on the left front tyre. You can see the imperfections as Victor Scheiter bails out. Listen to the crowd, there's back end damage on that car as well. And already there's there's two big pieces, one from the front and one from the back of the car. The marshals with the full course yellow being out. So who gets the advantage? You've got to be very careful under full course yellow, because if this is a short one, you can get caught halfway around a lap when someone else goes green. Louise down there in the pits, it looks like people think this might be a long one, and I think we will see pit stops.
I think we're going to see many pit stops. There's I would say 3 teams who have already been in. Everybody is out ready for their car to come in.
Thanks, Louise. Exit of turn 11 was where the wall strike was, Graham. That's coming out of the twisty bit through those S's after the Audi hairpin there, and the Largo S's. So I think that's the nicest area of the circuit in terms of getting the rhythm going. Leader is in the pit lane. Here's Luca Di Grassi. Tyres, no tyres. Driver, no driver. We'll find out. Tyres are there. No driver. No driver. A new drinks bottle. One of the pressurised units made by a wonderful little artisan engineering company called Progressive at Brackley in the centre of England. In comes the #1 Porsche with a little bit of a vibration as it came to a stop there. Brendan Hartley is out. And that was Mark Webber, I think getting in.
It was Mark getting in, wasn't it? This is going to be
Timo's helmet.
Part of the rest of the appeal of the FIWC.
Look, the second Porsche can't get in. Mark Lieb couldn't get turned, so they've had to use the dolly jacks to get it in, but it hasn't slowed them down. Lieb's out. So here's an interesting tactical change. Mark Webber is in the World Championship car.
Gianni into the #2 car, the championship leading car.
So Porsches have changed drivers, Audi have not. Because remember, Andre Lotterer is going to come round in a moment. As out goes the 8 car. Now, where's Lotterer? Lotterer's coming across the line any second now.
And neither of the Porsches have yet moved. There goes the 1 car.
Which came in first, so that's right. Andre Lotterer, I think...
Well, he's been in, hasn't he? So he doesn't have to come back.
No, he didn't come in. He did not come in.
Because he'd been in for that early stop for the tyres, so he doesn't need fuel.
I think Andre Lotterer will be scored as the leader when they come through at the end of the... Because he didn't lose the lap, did he?
He didn't lose the lap.
It's going to be close. It's when they go through Sector 2, we'll see it all change. Actually, no, he's not. Because of the slow zone, he must have lost a lap, Graham.
Meantime, I think the #5 Toyota has gone ahead of the #2 Porsche in the pit stop.
Yes.
In fact, I'm certain it has. Picked up 6 seconds in that pit stop. This is the #6 car, the second of the 2 Toyotas on track. But I think we've got a Toyota up into 3rd position, so it's Audi from Porsche and Toyota now. For the moment,
I've got to
until we see where Andre Lotterer comes through.
Spoke about this a couple of races ago at Spa to one of the Audi technicians who works out the strategy for this. And I said to her, look, give me a definitive yes-no as to when you pit under full course yellow and when you don't. And I did an if-then diagram.
Yep.
And there isn't one. And it's still so marginal as to whether you come or not. But Andre Lotterer, who had to make a green flag pit stop, has been absolutely paggered by this. So he's yet to complete his 35th lap. And, of course, he's done his pit stop, but...
Comes through now, I think. Have I just seen Andre Lotterer come through?
Yeah. And he's down in 6th position. So he hasn't made up any ground because, of course, the guys in front of him all took pit stops while he was only going at 80 kilometres an hour.
So he stayed in 6th position.
Yeah.
And has effectively lost that ground for the pit stop that he will have to take next.
He's lost half a lap and more on the leader.
A couple of cars didn't pit there on the first opportunity. One of them was Harry Tinknell in the #67 Ford. The other, Pat Long, the GTM leader, has not pitted yet.
Well, Tinknell's used that then to try and close in on the two Aston Martins, which he has done, but he's got a pit stop to do. Now that's interesting. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. Ollie Pla's been in the 66 car that was turned around, and he's gone back out again, stayed behind the wheel. So Ollie Pla stayed behind the wheel of the 66 car.
Lucas de Grassi has gone through to complete his last lap 36.
Marco Sorensen got into the 95 on its pit stop. Darren Turner, did he start? A 6 car went off a moment or two ago as well. Mike Conway having jumped in that car.
Was noting as
so
well.
it wasn't Buemi that got in the car then.
Furious hand gesture from the number 51 Ferrari to the Greaves Gibson.
That is at turn 4, Graham.
Yeah,
the Audi Sports section under the full course yellow. So Buemi didn't get in the car. So de Grassi leads from Webber by 18 seconds, with Kaz Nakajima third now in Toyota number 5. Graham was absolutely right on that. He's got ahead by 5 seconds of Mark Lee because of the better pit stops. De Grassi leading the motor race. Let's have a listen.
Still lots of carbon pieces around on the full course yellow area. Just keep an eye on my tire pressures. Yep, they're big enough I could see them on the onboard.
Sorry, Buemi started the race, so he got out, is the point we were trying to make. So Mike Conway now in the 6.
Still no stop, by the way, for Harry Tinknell. He's gone through again. And that is the only car that has not opted to stop under full course yellow.
Kaz Nakajima in the 5, Mike Conway in the 6 for Toyota. Let's just clear that up.
Point I was making a little earlier, as one of the parts of the train came by us, who's in the 51 at the moment? It's Jimmy Bruni, was waving furiously at the Greaves Gibson, which I think he was indicating, it looked it visually, that the Greaves Gibson was not at the fully permitted speed under full course yellow, which is losing the 51 ground.
Split in strategy for the 2 Pro Aston Martins, Marco Sorensen in that car. Now, he didn't start that car, but Darren Turner did start the 97, so Darren stayed in, Marco jumped in after the 95 was started by Nicky Team.
37 requiring a lift with that very clever standard lift bar. And
sorry, Graham. Khaled Kabezi has now got in, taking off from Pat Long in the 88. Still leads in Porsche number 88 in the AM category. Christian Reed's behind the 78 and Francois Perrodo in the Ferrari 83.
That's up to third, by the way, from the back of the field after the incident with the Aston Martin. Mike Wainwright, who rejoined in the lead. Of course, they actually had their pit stop under green. That will hurt the 86's progress.
Changing the lead of LMP2. Roman Rusinov now leads in the 26 car because of the pit stop time differential between that and the 43 car. Now,
it's a 1 minute 35 second pit stop for the number 43 car, so something went wrong there for the 43 in that pit stop. That's too long, even if they took 4 tyres and a driver change and a full tank of fuel. So Harry Tinknell has been in and now out. That completes almost the entire field pitting under yellow. The only significant runner that hasn't was the early stopper, the number 7 Audi, that's lost out pretty considerably there. 37 goes behind the barrier, so it won't be long, John, before we get this back to green flag running.
And I'm going to correct myself again because I got myself very confused with the Aston Martin. Darren Turner didn't start that car. It was Richie Stanaway who will step aside at the next race. Fernando Reis, who's here this weekend, will be the super sub because of the clashing commitments that Richie has in the other side of the world. So Fernando back for a couple of races.